Pac-12 has been a mess in recent years, but even messier here in 2020 with Oregon going down 2 consecutive weeks, the prohibitive favorite in the Pac-12 coming off a Rose Bowl season in 2019. Has USC distinguished itself as the best team in the conference? I believe so. Here are the reasons why. First, like the video. Comment down below your thoughts about USC and the rest of the Pac-12 and the college football playoff. And, of course, subscribe, USC fans, right here as we build out a USC channel and need your help. Share the videos out on social media. Let people know that we're here talking USC. Not just myself, but we bring in the best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the nation to talk up the Trojans. Oregon was most definitely the best team in the conference last year. They did slip up a couple times, but they proved in the Pac-12 championship game against Utah, an 8-1 Utah team, they dominated that game. And now we even see it based on the NFL production out of Justin Herbert. He's moved on, become a legitimate rising star in the NFL. One of the best offensive lines in college football last year and the most experienced based on starts by Oregon. A fast defense, a team, again, that looked the most impressive, posted the best record, won the Pac-12 championship decidedly over Utah, and then won the Rose Bowl over a fine Wisconsin team, 28-27. Oregon was the best team last year. Coming into this year, many expected Oregon's rise to continue under Mario Cristobal. He's recruited better than anyone in the conference, but there were a few issues. One being that Tyler Shook should become a capable quarterback, and he has been, but he's not Justin Herbert. So definitely a decline there in quarterback play from Herbert to Shook. Also, the offensive line has gone from the most experienced and arguably the best in college football, certainly the best in the Pac-12, to the least experienced. This offensive line, if you look at the offensive line starts, only one prior to 2020. And this has shown up time and time again because Oregon, for all their talent at the quarterback position, both to Herbert and Shook and in the offensive line, these inexperienced players along the offensive line should turn out to gel into a fine offensive line because they're all high recruits. The defense is loaded with top recruits, but the skill positions are not great. They are fairly marginal for what you would expect out of a top 10 to 12 program in the country. The defense has been getting burned by the big play. They lost key pieces on the defense from last season, and they're blowing assignments, giving up huge chunk plays on defense, and they're gaining yardage on offense, but blowing it with a lot of turnovers in these losses. Check out the 2 games that they lost against Oregon State, in which they blew a 2-score lead, and also the loss this past weekend against Cal, 21-17. It was turnovers in the red zone that beat them against the Golden Bears, or else they could have avoided the upset. Utah, they won the Pac-12 South for a second consecutive season last year. Were 8-1, clearly more consistent week to week than USC. But what happened when they stepped on the field at the Coliseum with USC last year? They were outclassed, but week to week they were better, more consistent. But they've lost a productive quarterback, Tyler Huntley. They lost an NFL running back in Zach Moss. Speaking of the NFL, 7 Utah players were drafted into the NFL, and most of them high selections. 3 defensive backs in Jalen Johnson, Julian Blackman. Also Burgess was drafted out of the secondary in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. So Utah, we knew was going to be down and not able to be as productive and keep up the winning as they have in previous seasons. So that leaves USC. Yes, they are decidedly the best team in the Pac-12, though not looking impressive the first 2 games against Arizona State, who I thought would be a dark horse selection in the Pac-12 South. I did pick USC to emerge, but that was a great game that USC had to pull out of a hat in the final 4 minutes with 2 touchdowns, 28-27. And then against a pretty awful Arizona team, USC almost slipped up on the road in that one. Late touchdowns needed to pull that one out 34-30. But the last 2 games have been near dominance against Utah and then total dominance, especially in the first half against Washington State when it mattered. USC goes on the road in the cold, and they win 33-17 against Utah. Their defense shuts down the Utes. then in this game, their defense is dominant. And defensive coordinator Todd Orlando has brought together this unit that has 4 and 5 stars all over the place on defense. Guys like Drake Jackson and Talanoa Hufanga is one of the more impressive athletes you're going to see on defense. Elijah Griffin is an upcoming star at cornerback. But the pieces are starting to gel and come together for USC on defense. Their last 2 defensive performances have been excellent. USC is the best team in the Pac-12. They move on to the UCLA rivalry game next week. The Bruins can't be lightly regarded. They've won 3 consecutive games and are playing their best football. That's not saying much, but playing their best football in 2.5 years under Chip Kelly. Then it's a wild card selection as to who USC will face in the Pac-12 championship game coming out of the North. It's a scrambled division. Your thoughts about the Pac-12, USC, and USC's chances. We've got another video. Please check it out. USC's chances to make the college football playoff, because we've created a path that's pretty logical. It involves a lot of steps, but they certainly can happen. Let's talk USC. Leave your comments below right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.